Hello and welcome back to the Impression Wiz channel. I'm your host, the Impression Wiz, and no, I am not starting another route. I am going to go to finish off Rose's route. It's just I had to close out the game and restart it, so that's where we are. Let me actually get into it. Just strange dead air there, I apologize, but where we last left off, we were trying to decide whether to go look for Rose or to stay put in a room. I really don't know what the best choice is, so I'm gonna stay put. And she's back. I guess I chose the right choice. Kinda like doing the fails if I can, but... Anyway. Your patience pays off almost at once. Rose is back and looking significantly more put together. Also, she's brought you a towel. Here. I'm not overly attached to anything in here. It's mostly just childish nonsense. Haven't yet bothered to rid myself of it. But I'd appreciate it if you tried not to drip on any of the notebooks. She has changed out of her raincoat and boots, and she's dressed in a neat black shirt and a white black skirt, not black shirt. I'm sorry. Little dyslexic there. I'm not actually dyslexic. I'm not trying to offend anybody who does have that. Just mixed up there. Black skirt and white shirt with a purple blob thing with tentacles? What is it with these kids and their blob shirts? Now that's dealt with. Please, sit down. She crosses her legs. You suddenly feel like you're at a job interview. Friend interview? You wish you were a little less damp. Actually, let's switch places. You're still pretty wet. You don't want to get her bedspread messed up. Don't worry about it. That's what washing machines are for. Now, let's talk about magic. Which, up until now, I've always taken for granted as being something confined to storybooks. Rose takes a wistful look towards her bedroom window, grayed over and blurry with raindrops. You get the feeling that she's doing it for effect. Maybe that's why she wanted you to switch places with her. And then comes you, not a mailman with a penchant for showing up and attempting to make friends with unwitting children. Well, fair, she's got you there. But honestly, she might be a child, but she's really doesn't seem to be unwitting. I gotta sneeze, I apologize in the video. And of course I say something and it's gone, never mind. On the contrary, she's really quite witty. Witty. I'm glad you noticed. She folds her hands and clears her throat. You think that if she had any notes, she would be shuffling them. And so the question remains, are you a good witch or a bad witch? Are you a wizard? We've already established that you're not a public servant. Is there a difference between witch and a wizard? Of course there is, but exactly how specific of a difference can vary. According to some works of fiction, a wizard is just a witch's male counterpart. But in certain mythologies, for instance, Arthurian legend, the difference appears to be class-based. So basically, like in Dungeons and Dragons, how a warlock and a wizard are two different things, but they can be, like, any gender. I think. Anyway, wizards reside at court and are classically trained, while witches are self-taught and run wild through the forest. Kind of interesting that wizards are kind of self-taught in Dungeons and Dragons. I guess my microwave started beeping. I apologize for that. I won't deny that those differences tend to often be gendered as well. They like to gender witches and wizards when it's really not necessary. I think, personally. You ask her which one she is, a witch or a wizard. Me?
She's the witch.
No, she's not. She's actually a seer. Anyway, Rose shifts, uncrossing and recrossing her legs. You shrug and say she just seems to know a lot about them. I know a thing or two, but can I tell you a secret? Oh my god, Rose. She has no idea how much she would love to hear her secret. And how much do you want to bet he doesn't actually keep it that well? I find them wizards, utterly reprehensible. They disgust me. Everything from their foppish robes to their grizzled beards. It's my mother who is the wizard enthusiast in this house. Although... Sorry, just doing something real quick. Dramatic pause. She glances from side to side, theatrically. Most of the things Rose does seems to be at least a little bit theatrical. She kneels on the carpet beside the clutter of books. I don't show these to many people, actually. I haven't shown them to anyone. Not even John? John seems to be a pretty cool guy. Definitely a guy worth sharing a few secret notebooks with. Rose laughs. Yeah, he's kind of a laughable fellow. No, I haven't shown them to John. And I've only shown Strider to punish him. You nod. Pretending that you know who this Strider person is. You are a total normal dude with an absolutely ungodly number of friends. And that is just a lie. Oh my, there's a Kokichi reference I made there. Oh, my. A shadow moves through the center of you. A trembling moment of deja vu. You do have a lot of friends, don't you? That feels true, but the only people you know here are John and now Rose. Weird. You try to put it to from your mind. I'm sorry, these sentences are sometimes worded a bit weird. And listen to Rose again. She is still talking about this mysterious Strider, flipping through one of the journals too quickly for you to see anything specific, only that it is full from cover to cover. As if my modest writings are the sole source of homoerotic tension in his life, when his brother is the one who insists on filling their home with assorted dick butts for ironic purposes. Rose rolls her eyes. Yeah, we've seen those dick butt things. They're not fun. In the actual canon of Homestuck, or in pesterquest here. Oh boy, you missed the beginning of that. It's probably maybe made way more sense than it seemed like. Rose is searching through her notebooks, checking markings on the spine that seem to be some sort of cataloging system of arcane symbols. Where is... Oh, right. She does something quick and complex with her fingers, and another notebook pops into existence and falls into her lap. You gape. She really is a wizard! What? It's just a Silodex. A child could use one. Here. This notebook has a couple of drawings in it, but most of it is filled with small, neat handwriting in lavender ink. Is Rose writing a book? No, don't be silly. I'm writing 4 books, at least. Shit! Girl, you need a hobby other than writing books. 5, depending on whatever I decide to flesh out Kalsmis's backstory. It isn't strictly necessary, but it does add a certain amount of valuable character insight, which renders their actions in later volumes more sympathetic. Not that I need all of my anti-heroes to be sympathetic. I'm just thinking of what the literary reviewers would say. You nod. Smart. You would never have thought of... Okay, I'm gonna read this as probably how he feels. You nod. Smart. You would never have thought of what the literary reviewers would say. She is smart like Eddie. Ha ha. Okay. She is honestly pretty impressive for someone her age. Age has nothing to do with it. But don't get carried away. It's only a rough draft. You ask her if you can take a look. She hesitates, but you doubt she would have shown it to you if she didn't want you to look. What the hell? If you can't trust a strange spherical imprint you meet outside in the rain, who can you trust? Right? Your thoughts exactly! I mean, look at me! I'm pretty much just a circle in a box with lines for arms and legs drawn in... Rose hands you the notebook, and you open it to a random... You open it at random, letting fate guide your hands. Frigglish Excuse me. Frigglish bothered his beard, as if unkinking a hitch in a long silk windsock. A more pedestrian audience would praise the exhibit as a nervous compulsion, behavior to pension contempt among the reasonable. He was, however, not surrounded by the reasonable, but the wise, a distinction in men that would forever be the difference in history, guardland of treasured follies. As a matter of fact, his cadre of fellow wizards were all putting similar moves on their beards as well. The practice would evince thoughtfulness. I'm sorry if I pronounce any of these words wrong, I'm trying. Sagacity, even. If they don't do it at if they didn't do it all the time. Standing in line at the bank, shooing squirrels from bird feeders. Few occasions were safe. I'm sure the scroll probably had all of it, and I'm just slow reading, I'm sorry. Zazarpan inspected the clue. A single piece of evidence cradled in his courageous old man palms. It was a human bone, not striking in the tale it told alone, so much as that told by the thousands like it festooning the marshy soil of the mass grave. The grisly expanse bore the texture of a decanted desert, like one of Sarian's formidable custard trifles wobbled out on wheels for the holidays, to the dismay of a small nation. You alliterate a little bit much there, honey. You're certain of this? Asked Frigglish, despite what he was doing with his beard. He was, in fact, immersed in meaningful contemplation. I'm afraid I am becoming more so with each terrible tick, grossed by that gaudy timepiece slugging around your neck. And yes, I did do that in a little bit of Gandalf. in case it wasn't clear, Frigalish wore a clock Zazarpan didn't care for. It was magic. The massacre of Sars Glen was not as written. Wow, this is pretty dense, but smart. You stroke your own imaginary beard and pretend to ponder the deeper meaning. What's funny is I was actually stroking my own invisible beard that whole time. Yes, intriguing. Zazarpan and Frigalish. Clearly there is some history there. Yes, clearly. But what the two of them shared went beyond simple romance. That's why it's gone so spectacularly sour. Ooh. Lovers? Rose becomes increasingly more animated as she tells you about her gay wizard OCs. Thank you. Hey, we'll get to actually see, right after we do her route, we actually get to do Kanaya's next. I think, no, Jade's. But then Kanaya's. My bad. Like she is far more interested in them than she is in herself. That's a thing I've noticed. Some people get way into their OCs. I might be kind of referencing something that I've witnessed over on TikTok, but I'm not gonna say anything about it. I have no place to say about it. Just some bad things happened. We'll just leave it at that. They share an intellectual bond, a mutual dedication to knowledge and the preservation of such. The goal of the learned is to amass their wisdom and keep it from general dissemination into the main populace of wizards. So in a way, she's writing a fan fiction about wizards, but she's not the biggest fan of wizards, so she's kind of writing them differently. I am overanalyzing something I should not even try to analyze in the first place. They feed it to their apprentices in drips and drabs. Of course, this will eventually lead to ruin. Of course. You flip further into the book, searching for the part where it leads to ruin. Ruin sounds interesting. Here we go again. Zazarpan knew he would see his wayward apprentice again. Knew it like he knew the tide would turn and the sun would blaze to its zenith as each inexorable day passes. Now they stood diametrically opposed across an overgrown chessboard. His apprentice's eyes were hidden behind dark glasses, but Zazarpan knew that if he could see them, they would be riddled with the madness of the void. Kalmasis, I hope I'm pronouncing that right too, wasn't here for justice or for revenge. They were here exclusively because Zazarpan had something they wanted, something they were owed. You flip through the notebook, checking out the drawings. There are a lot of wizards, each more bearded and venerable than the last. Sorry, doing a little bit of checking with things. Anyway, one of the pictures, the most recent maybe, since it's on the very last page of the journal, is of two young wizards. Twins, maybe? They have gray hair and are wearing slick green suits, and are standing back to back with their arms entwined, staring into the middle distance. That makes me think of Celeborn and Calliope. A little bit, actually. Which is kind of what things kind of go on, if I remember from Homestuck itself. But getting to see a little bit more into it's kind of nice. I actually kind of hope to see those two routes and to be able to do my Caliborn voice for a Caliborn written thing. I would love to see that. Anyway, it's very anime. You compliment Rose on her artistic prowess. Yes, thank you. They're all right. And here's where the whole artist hates on their own work kind of thing. Although maybe not as much as some artists I actually know in person. Well, not in person, but one in person. If you watched yesterday's video, you probably know, or if you've watched some of the videos of Sam and Max, in probably yesterday's video, you'll know one of the artists I'm talking about. Anyway. But I'm also probably one too. Anyway, I'm a much better writer. I'm a much better writer than I am an artist. You tell her you think she's really good. Way better than you. And there's what I would say pretty much. You're absolutely positive she is going to be famous one day. I appreciate the encouragement, even though I know you're just trying to flatter me due to your strange thirst for affirmative experiences. John told me all about it. Hey, it's me, John! Hi, I'm in the window! Not really, but that'd be hilarious. Damn, busted. But you really do think she's talented. It's fine. It's not as if my social calendar is over full out here in the middle of the woods. When you are in the middle of the woods, it's kind of... Don't tell anyone I said that I don't have many friends. I am not going to say that. And don't tell them I've been drawing. He'd be insufferable. Dave would be insufferable. He? Never mind. Hey, I already have it pegged on who would be insufferable. And he would. You reassure Rose that her secrets are safe and hand back her journal. You are really excited about your new friend, if you might be so bold, and her wizard stories. Although, wait. Hadn't she said that she hated wizards? What's your point? Well, you're no expert on wizards or on Rose, but it seems like she actually does seem to like them, because she has several notebooks full of wizard fiction. You aren't trying to get, like, real here, but maybe it's possible her mom isn't the only one in the family who likes wizards? Rose pulls her book out of your hands, that and the rest of the books vanish into thin air. Oh, right. That must have been that, what did she call it? Silodex? She doesn't look angry, exactly. But the lines around her mouth and eyes that softened as she talked about her book have hardened back up. Her eyes glitter maniacally. Oh, is that right? Fraud? Well, why don't you diagnose me? Freud, not fraud. Oh, hey, wow, you weren't trying to be condescending or whatever. Clearly. You were aware that it is a common psychological phenomenon for an individual to react to trauma by creating fictional representations of which has caused them bodily harm or emotional dismay. Kind of like how John has drawings of clowns and harlequins all over his place. I'm just saying. To suggest that the portrayal of those fictional renderings somehow condones them or supports them is absolutely absurd. So what she's saying is that she draws wizards to cope. Rose rises regally on her feet. The lighting turns her into an ethereal silhouette. What I'm saying is that I don't need to justify my fictional predilections to you or to anyone else. No, she's totally right. You're sorry that you suggested that she might like wizards. It was horribly presumptuous and not at all the way a friend should act. You are so sorry. You promise it will never happen again. No, I suppose it will. I don't suppose it will. It's probably just because Rose's hair is such a pale blonde, but it almost looks like she's glowing in the dim bedroom. Like light behaves a little differently around her than it does on everything else. Would you look at that? It appears that the rain has lightened up a bit. The rain is hitting the window so loudly you're actually having trouble hearing her. And your point is, you can just zap yourself out to where the weather is drier. Fuck off. Go zap yourself. Well, that would be a fail if I had ever saw one. And with how long I took, I'm going to actually have to revisit the next one in a third episode. Wait, you know what? No. We'll visit the winning one right now. Go look for her. I'm hoping it's shorter, but I'll fix it however it needs to be. You are too anxious to sit still, and you aren't the sort of person who just sits there and waits for friend opportunities to fall into their lap. Better to run headlong into danger, or as much danger as a minimalist upper-middle-class house in the middle of the woods can offer. Rose had told you that it isn't safe. So I think this is the right one. You creep out into the hallway where a bunch of things happen more or less simultaneously. A deluge of quick-time events that you had no idea were coming. A, B, B, X, circle. Flick the controller, flick the controller! Lighting flashes in a perfect jagged line across the tall window at the end of the hall, followed immediately by a crash of thunder so loud you think the house might be falling down. Abruptly, all the lights go out. Oh, hi, Mom Lalonde. Another flash of lightning, and for a vigorous moment, you see a long, thin figure superimposed against the window. You freak the fuck out, jumping about a foot in the air and yowling like a cat. A small hand lands on your shoulder and you jump again. Calm down, it's just me. Rose speaks in a normal tone of voice, and it's jarring. The house is echoey and cavernous, and there's just something about a dark house on a stormy evening that makes you want to whisper. I told you to stay put for a reason. It's too early for my mother to be sauced enough not to notice random strangers in her house. And I don't want you to go through the tedious process of explaining who you are. You have the perfectly understandable reason for why you left, and that reason is that you were lonely. Rose snorts. Cold. You mean you were cold. Well, you are soaking wet. Follow me. She grabs you by the wrist and tows you down the hall. You wonder if you should warn her about the strange wraith-like creature you saw in the window, but you don't want to freak her out. Although her mom might be at risk too. Actually, that was her mom. Anyway, whatever. Moms are tough. She'll be fine. This probably isn't the first time she's gone toe-to-toe with a weird slender man. This house looks haunted as shit. Rose brings you to a dark laundry room. Then motions you to take off your hoodie, which you do, gladly, because it is soaking wet. That's interesting. The design on the front, does it mean anything? Oh yeah, it's kind of cool. A blue line that zigzags on one end like lightning. Looking at it, it makes you feel unsettled. You realize Rose is still waiting for a response, so you just hand her the hoodie and tell her no. You're pretty sure it's just an abstract sign. Then you stand there while she tosses the sweatshirt in the dryer, feeling the alarming currents of memory in your bloodstream. You're sure there must be something you forgot to do. You continue to feel weird as Rose hits the dryer button and nothing happens. Fuck. She hits the button a few more times as if that will make it a bit of difference when the power is out. She presses her thumb and forefingers to the bridge of her nose. Well, you aren't going to fit in anything of mine. She leads you down more long hallways. Man, this house is unreasonably huge. You ask Rose if a lot of people live here. No, it's just me, my mother, and a horde of liquid not soluble in water. So alcohol. Here, try not to drip on the carpet. You aren't sure how you're supposed to manage that, but okay. This room is large and dark, and when Rose parts the curtains, a flash of lightning illuminates a four-poster bed, a long counter, and a shelf covered head to foot in bottles. Ah, minibar. Rose vanishes through the door, leaving you to peruse. This is all liquor. Shit. This is a lot of booze. Here, I'm not sure what you would want to wear, but this should work until the power comes back on and we can dry your clothes. Rose hands you a silk robe. She won't miss this. I don't think she's ever worn it. She has this whole closet full of fantastic clothes that she never puts on. You take the robe and go into the large master bedroom. It's kind of a mess. The tub looks like, or master bathroom, not bedroom, my bad. The tub looks like it hasn't been cleaned in a long time. The robe gives you the same knotted feeling of familiar knotted feeling that looking at your hoodie did. But you put it on anyway. It's a relief to get out of your wet clothes. You hang them carefully on the shower rod. When you head back to the bedroom, you find Rose standing in front of the wall of liquor. She holds a bottle of Grey Goose and squinting at the label, like she's trying to read the nutritional facts. I've often wondered what exactly the merits of consuming this are. It tastes quite literally like burning. Fair enough. She opens the bottle, and before you can protest that she is by no means the legal drinking agent wherever the fuck you are, she puts the bottle to her mouth and takes a sip. She splutters. Blah! Be funny if I had the actual blah thing from Homestuck to put in here. That's terrible. You could have told her that. Straight vodka isn't for the uninitiated, even fancy vodka. You take the bottle from her. She hesitates for a moment, then it lets it go. Excuse me. You set it back on the shelf. This really is quite an impressive liquor cabinet. Liquor wall. Liquor room. Her mom must really have a refined palate. Don't strain yourself. You can say it. What's the point in mincing words? She's a fucking alcoholic. Wow, this is intense. You're not sure if you're prepared for something this heavy. You were kind of counting on some silly shenanigans. Maybe a couple funny jokes. You aren't cut for this. You get the feeling that at some point you might have been cut out for this. You might have been... You might have been the sort of person your friends, or potential friends, could count on. Apologies for all the breaks in this. This'll be a longer episode, I think. I apologize. In fact, you know on some level that this is true, but whenever you try to nail down any sort of specifics, you find a gaping lacuna in your experiences. It's all just white noise. Rose shoulders slump as she stands surveying her mother's bottles. She doesn't even have the decency to hide her distasteful habits. Who needs an entire wall of liquor bottles? She doesn't have people over. She doesn't have any friends. This is all just for me, just more of her passive-aggressive act as a femme fatale 1950s housewife with a death wish. It's just like the wizards. Wizards? Don't worry about it. You know how long it's been since I've had a home-cooked meal? And I'm not saying that I require or even desire a lovingly crafted culinary masterpiece every time I sit down to eat. That's going a bit far. I know John complains about being plagued by fatherly concerns every chance he gets. He's overwhelmed by pastries whenever he ventures from his room. I'm glad my mother doesn't poke her considerable nose into my private affairs. But I'm sick of eating oatmeal. Rose? I told you, don't worry about it. But you will worry about it. You're worried about all your friends. All 2 of them. And that's actually how I tend to feel about my friends too. I'm just going to say that now. I'm a worrywart for my friends and family. Serious moments in this one. Wow. I think I'm glad I decided to go with the men because it wasn't as serious until later, but... Oh. Rose smiles with half of her mouth. It seems to be about all she can manage. Lightning crashes. She looks so small and sad against the wall of bottles. You know how to fix this. Thunder rolls and you clench your fist. A friendship clench. You don't know who you are. You don't know why you're here. But you do know that surely you have these powers for a reason. And what better reason than helping a poor young girl with her troubled home life? Rolling up your floppy sleeves, you get to work. What are you doing? You start with the dark liquors first. In your experiences, those cause worse hangovers and are more likely to contribute to the absence of hot motherly meals on the consumption of oatmeal. You grab 2 bottles of rum and 1 bourbon, which you tuck in one armpit. You then zap out of the house into a clearing into the nearby woods a couple of hours ago before it started raining. You drop the bottles and go back for more. You are just stealing all of... Are you just stealing all of my mother's liquor? Is this your solution to her alcoholism? Don't worry. Rose can thank you later. You go for the tequila next, then the vodka. Then you get sick of this organized approach and just start grabbing whatever the fuck and dumping it in the past. Let's get more of these flashes. I apologize. I will put a warning. Rose watches you do this for a while. Then she hops up on the corner, crosses her legs, and starts texting. Wow, she really so intent on her conversation that she isn't even noticing you fixing her domestic situation. She keeps giving you little fleeting looks, and you're pretty sure she must be talking about you. You should just let her talk. It isn't right to try and invade your friend's privacy. You attempt to resist the temptation, which you fail to add immediately. Not even an overused meme can save you. You zap behind her onto the counter where you can spy on her private correspondence. And this would be Jade. I don't know anything about them. I'm sorry. And here was me trying to take advantage of your uncanny ability to make guesses verging on prognostication. I'm recently considering a revelation on magic. You don't know who this person is. Maybe you should just... You go back in time a couple minutes to when Rose started her conversation. Her past self is busily zapping back and forth, or your past self busily zapping back and forth carrying liquor and bottles. You hunker down so you don't see yourself and cause a paradox, or whatever the fuck. Out of a morbid curiosity to shine a light on my future, I come with metaphorical hat in hand to ask you to consult your dream clouds. Do you happen to know anything about a strange cardboard cutout creature masquerading as a mailman? Are you sleeping? Sorry, I had to scold Beck. He's been acting really weird all of a sudden. Anyway, is this the same mailman that John was talking about? The fake one who hung out with him? That's the one. They are certainly emptying currently emptying my mother's liquor cabinet in an attempt to prevent her from overindulging herself. Oh, are they drinking it? No, I think they're just dropping it in the woods with their magic powers. Oh, Do they know that she could just go out and buy more liquor? That's something you can do where you live, right? Yes, well, not exactly where we live. I think the nearest boozery is a good 20 minutes drive. I'm not exactly entirely sure where my mother got it all. We don't own a car, as far as I know. Sometimes it seems like she has the ability to just make things appear. I don't know anything about them. I'm sorry. And here was me trying to blah, 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 blah. We've heard that before. I'm still pretty sure magic is fake. At least the kinds of magic you're talking about. There's probably some real magic out there somewhere. Yes, for instance, the sort that lets you spy on your hostess' private correspondence while you are stealing her mother's libitations. You freeze with a contrite zap. You reappear in front of Rose. She sets her phone down and props her chin up on a delicate fist. Sorry, you honestly don't know what got into you. You just couldn't resist using your powers for evil. Haven't you heard that with great power comes great responsibility? Yes, Spider-Man taught me that. I mean, no. Rose is right. She's totally right. You only had this power for like a day, so you still aren't used to the idea of being able to just zap all over the narrative. Zapping through the narrative. That exactly is what happens in Homestuck, too. Clearly, you did not appreciate the implications. Zapping all over the narrative sounds potentially stressful. Oh, you bet. You are incredibly stressed right now. Rose laughs. You apologize to her for stealing all of her mom's drinks. That was kind of overzealous of you. No, actually, I thought it was hilarious. I've never really been one for pranks. That's always fallen more in John's wheelhouse, but there's nothing wrong in occasionally stepping outside of one's comfort zone. Oh, I'm probably going to have to edit this down. I apologize with how it probably is going to end up being. I didn't think I was going to be in certain things. Anyway, that's always fallen more to John's wheelhouse, but there's nothing wrong in occasionally stepping outside of one's comfort zone. I already read that. I'm sorry. Let's do the vodka next. The two of you working together get this place cleared out pretty quick. You zap Rose along with you to the bright clearing in the field for a moment. She just stands in the sunbeams, blinking up at the cloudless sky. Her expression says she still might not be totally convinced any of this is happening. When all of the liquor has been transferred from the bedroom to the woods, in a big glittering dragon hoard of booze, You and Rose fall down next to it in a heaping mess. Well, you fall into a heaping mess. Rose lowers herself daintily, sitting more on her knees than her butt. Probably to keep her skirt from getting dirty. You get the idea that even though she lives in the middle of nowhere, she doesn't spend a ton of time outside. You tell her again that you're sorry you spied on her correspondence with her green friend Gigi. Also, you hope she isn't going to get into trouble with her mom. I'm not unduly concerned. I'll tell her where it all is in a couple of days. Although by that time, I'm sure at least a good third of it will be water damaged. I'm sure this will have fantastic implications for our relationship, and not at all exacerbate the emotional problems underlying her addiction. You laugh awkwardly. Well, now you kind of just feel like an asshole. Rose lies back on the grass and raises a hand to trace the curves of a fluffy white cloud. She closes her eyes. Perhaps it's just projection on my part, or wishful thinking. But ever since I met you, I feel like something has changed. Or rather, something has failed to change, if that makes any sense. It's probably nothing. Her eyes flicker back open, endlessly purple, fixed on the sky like she can see something beyond it, and once again you feel that there's something really crucial that you forgot. But at least you've made a new friend, and even if you don't think Rose's brand would ever allow her to call you as such, you're lying in a sunny clearing next to a pile of alcohol, and honestly, it doesn't get much friendlier than that. Victory! And there's that. I'm going to try and close out this episode really quick. Basically, that's Rose's thing. This whole, I am going to start doing the female ones up until we get to the alpha kids, and that's going to be the plan. I'm sorry for the rushed ending of this, but I think I've been going on for a long time, and I just need to get this ended. So I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, please put a like on the video. If you want to see more of my content, please subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you don't miss anything I upload. And as always, I will see you tomorrow.